Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Dennis and this is my art channel. Today we're going to be doing a watercolor painting. Compared to last week's dual watercolor video, this is going to be one painting on a significantly larger piece of paper. In fact, I think this is perfectly twice as large and plus maybe one more inch between the 4x6s I was working on last week and this being a I believe either 11x14 or a 10x14. Just missing a couple inches there, so probably like extra 10 square inches of this page, but I digress. This is a painting on paper using pigment and water. It's not too crazy different from what's been going on the past few videos here, but I do think that I'm progressing back to a larger size, and it's nice to kind of flex back on something with a page with so much space, a canvas with so much playroom, if you will, because it's nice to be able to work around something with less boundaries and more possibilities. I feel like, especially with the brushes that I'm using, a lot of them are kind of larger in size, half inch, 1 inch kind of size, and when it comes to a small paper, it fills up the page really fast, and something like this I can really build layers upon layers over time instead of suddenly I filled it up with one color all at once. And you can see some kind of regions popping up where the very top left is that red, kind of like their light pinkish. Bottom right has been kind of bluish. Middle is yellow, turning into a green with the blue mix. Sort of that way. A lot of different areas developing. As on this size of page, my brushes seem kind of small, to be honest. I need to push the paint a lot more and use significantly more water, and unlike the issue I was having in some of my other paintings where all the water was pooling at the bottom and collecting a muddy pigment at the very bottom of the page, this paper has so much surface area that the water simply can't pool at least not to that degree. Maybe if I were to pull out the spray bottle and start really soaking the page, it would start to accumulate like that, but I don't believe that any time in this, at least in this painting process, will it start to collect in that spot. In fact, some areas like this, I can just go in with nearly a dry brush and make some clean lines over the prior marks, make a new layer. That said, it's still in the kind of mid to early stages of this painting, so rather than individual marks, I'm more focused still on the bigger kind of areas of color, so in the border edges with a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, trying to get every little bit covered, at least addressed in some way. I am hitting, it's kind of hard to see from the top down angle. I'm using the brush to create a line from one spot. I feel like I think in the moment I was feeling like I was making like a cloud with some God rays going, kind of descending down onto the area, the focal point of the painting, the lighter kind of central area that's open with a few lines that I'm making right here, right now. I think it develops a little bit more as the painting progresses, but at least in this point, that's how I feel about it. Is like looking down onto like into a pool or something like that. The trees are around, and those some really bright, shiny clouds with the sun peeking through down into the little cozy space that I'm developing here. That's my current kind of feeling about it. I think that's what I was feeling in the moment while I was painting this, and I feel like you can judge for yourself if that is how it actually feels by the end of this, or if something else kind of comes out, or if it doesn't feel like anything at all. It just feels like a amalgamation, mismatch of colors that may or may not be pleasant to your eyes. I feel like everybody has different thoughts, feelings, and expectations about color. Everybody sees color differently, and then on another level, everybody interprets color a bit differently. So, beyond just like preferences of what your favorite color is, just like how certain colors make you feel. Like, just for example, like the cultural significance of, like, at least here in the United States, I feel like it's expected that you wear like black to a funeral, for example. Like, it's a very like cultural choice of color that you have to dress a certain way for this occasion. Something a little more lighthearted, I think, like some people have a whole wardrobe section of the wardrobe dedicated to one day of the year, which is St. Patrick's Day. Is very green day of the year every year, and some people, I feel like, dedicate a whole lot to that day. I personally, like, if I'm going out for St. Patty's, it's like I've got some green socks, and that's, I'll show them off if you need some proof. Get some Mardi Gras type green beads, and I'm set. But like, jokes aside, that's the significance of a color, right? And you might see green and think of like a party, versus I might see green and think of just leaves, nature, grass. Who knows? What might be when it comes to this kind of just thinking of a color in the abstract. It's just what you feel like, what comes to mind. I think when we get asked the question, like, what is red, like what comes to mind? Is it an apple? Is it excuse me. Yeah, I feel like I do just think of an apple when I think of red. Maybe a clown nose is red. A rose is red. These are red things. The heart is red, like the Valentine's Day kind of heart. I guess like real heart might not be red. I shouldn't be thinking about a real heart, actually. I'm back to back to the ground. But yeah, that's colors are all open to interpretation, and I feel like everybody sees things differently, and so I'm curious. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this specific combination of colors. I've got a lot of mixtures into some, like, I see pinks, I see teals, blues, the yellows, of course, a couple of violets. I feel like the whole rainbow is represented in this painting, actually, now that I'm looking at it. But I am mainly focused on like a central cool tone, at least in this point in the painting. Look at the timestamp. I'm just like halfway through, so still some bit of development to go. But right now it's like a cool center and like a warm outside, like a warm sun peeking in and raining down the sun shower onto the kind of less warm, more watery kind of center. But yeah, back to painting. I feel like I've done a fair bit of, at this point, I've done a fair bit of big strokes, wet strokes, dry strokes. Right now I'm going in with my smallest brush, a teeny tiny little toothpick of a brush, and trying to add in some kind of finer details where I feel like they're needed. I don't think that the whole painting needs a bunch of little lines all over it. This isn't that kind of painting. I feel like it is sometimes needed, but in this case, I just felt like some of the areas needed some connection, and so little lines can do that. Whereas back to this big brush, I can lay on huge swaths of color and really change the feeling and composition. I feel like adding this blue, darkening all the edges, has changed the whole feeling of the painting, because before it was, as I said before, it was like a warm outside, like peeking into the center, but now it's cool on the inside, cool on the outside as well. But I'm not going to touch the those kind of God rays too much. I think that idea I still like, but I do try to add some blue and mix it in with the yellow to make a kind of a range of greens into the area. I do feel like green, at least for me, is going to be referencing nature and just alluding to the fact that this is more of like a nature-inspired abstract painting than anything else. At least for me. It's always up to interpretation with these things, and I'm always happy to hear what y'all think. Please let me know in the comments down below, you know, where those are. But yeah, I feel like beyond that, the technical kind of parts of this painting, going in back with some indigo and some of the general kind of mix of the painting. I'm trying to get like a muddy kind of color on the brush. That's why I'm using the actual kind of palette instead of going back into the concentrated colors on the palette. The point is that I don't want to, at this stage, alter the colors too much. I might if I decide to, but it would make like a big change, and I think I'm kind of at a point where I'm getting happy with where it is. At least looking back on it, I would be fine to call the painting pretty soon. But something that I notice and something that I eventually patch up is just some of the kind of whiter and muddier areas, the see-through ones in the kind of lower left quadrant. I feel like it's intentional on the upper area where I've got the God rays shining through, but it's not so intentional in the bottom, so I do have to come back and address that. Let's see together how that happens. Pulling in with just slightly wet brush and pulling around the existing colors, getting the just straight water, a bit of the mud off of the palette. No straight, no pigment, no dip it into the buckets. This is just muddy color going around, just trying to spread and blend. At this point, just blend the existing stuff. That's fine. Now, though, this is a change. We're going in with straight red, giving it big strokes, pushing it around, giving it a few lines. This is a change. Feels very different than it did just a few seconds ago. Following it up with a bit of purple, my favorite pigment, of course, and mixing it around and trying to make it a little bit darker. This time with the indigo. A cool central area developing even further. Mix into all areas. And it's done. Some close-ups of the work. It's still a little bit wet, so as it dries, it will flatten a little bit. Some of the, I feel like the wetter paper leaves it a little bubbly, textury, so gives off a bit of effect by that. The color itself, though, I feel like it lightens a little bit, but you'll probably see in the next video when I cut it out. So stay tuned for that. I release a new video every Friday, so subscribe please to stay tuned. Leave a like if you like the video, and once again, comment what you think about the painting. Have a great weekend. Peace out.